This is Cody at Scanco, and I want to welcome you to our webinar. Today, we are going to be discussing a few topics. One of them is a little bit about some of the changes that you may have seen here at Scanco. And then we're going to get into a new feature that we have recently launched called zone picking. So I see a couple new faces here on the webinar. I see a lot of familiar faces, so welcome back to those of you that like to check out what's new, what's changing over here at Scanco. It's great to see so many familiar faces and a couple new ones. So, a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Cody. I am the VP of Business Development over here at Scanco. Actually, approaching my 12-year anniversary here. So, I've had a lot of time with a lot of you that are on this webinar. I look forward to meeting those of you that are new here. And my time here at Scanco has really seen a lot of changes. It has seen a lot of new product launches. This is probably one of a couple hundred webinars that I have done, and really what excites me is that on each one of those webinars, we typically get to talk about something new, something that we have been able to innovate, whether it was the first solution on iOS and Android, whether it was launching our enterprise solution back in 2015, where we were able to compete with a lot of the larger WMS systems and introduce that technology into the small and mid-sized businesses that just didn't have that ability before. And today is no exception. What I'm most excited about today is really talking about some of the changes. We are a 30-year-old company, actually about 35 now, and that has brought a lot of experience with it. And in June, so about 2 months ago, we did get acquired. So you're going to see a lot of changes coming. This is just one of the first webinars that you'll see of new products, new services that we're going to be rolling out, new enhancements to our customer experience. We've actually brought on about 12 to 13 employees in the past 2 months and have another what we call hiring class starting here in about 2 weeks. So we are not slowing down. We are full in. We're listening to you as our customers, listening to you as our business partners, and you're going to start seeing a really significant change in how we operate based on all of the feedback that we've received. So one thing I always say, keep that feedback coming. We have the resources now to make it happen. So as I mentioned, we were founded in 1989. We are the premier provider of automation software in the SMB market, primarily in Sage. Most of you on here are probably on Sage 100 or looking at Sage 100. And the product we're talking about today is definitely built into that platform. So before we get into the new features, I want to spend a couple minutes just talking about why. Like I said, I mentioned, see some new names on here. So you might still be wondering, why is this important? Why does this matter? And you'll hear 100 reasons, out of the thousands of reasons why it matters. You're going to hear 100 on different webinars. But what I tend to hear day to day, number one is accuracy. Reducing those picking errors and introducing operational efficiencies into your organization is going to significantly reduce those shipping charges that you're paying to get items back or telling your customers to keep the items. So making sure that we're preventing that at step one, which is the moment we grab those goods off of your shelf, is going to be vital to the growth and success of your organization. Number two is efficiency. I kind of always joke about this one. I said, this is all of our fault. We can probably blame Amazon for setting expectations at 2-day delivery. I don't know about you all. I'm not happy with 2 days anymore. If it's not getting here same day, or at least in the neighborhood I live in, it's overnight at this point for the most part. But that overnight delivery shows up before 5 a.m. So it wakes me up every now and then. I hear that ring doorbell alert go off that there's someone at your door. But then when I get that next alert that it detected a package, I'm like, yes, this worked. So having that there when I wake up in the morning is what we've kind of all grown to expect. And it's not always fun being on the other side of that. We're running small to mid-sized businesses. We're doing everything we can to keep our customers happy, but they're also coming at us saying, how can I get this quicker? I need this quicker. And you're competing against everyone in your industry to get that to your customers, not only accurately, but as quick as possible. So having the efficiency to automate these solutions, whether you're using an EDI, some sort of a web store import, as soon as that order exists in your Sage system, you want the technology to be able to send it out to your warehouse, have those users go out and grab it as quick as possible and get it out the door. So those combined kind of lead to that third one. And it's a little surprised. I don't see this third one listed as much from other companies, which is customer satisfaction. I think maybe this is something that we're focused so much on that I'm kind of, we'll say projecting it into the webinar. But that's really what the core of, I think, all of our businesses is that customer satisfaction. Without that, it's just not going to work out in the long run. We're going to have a lot of turnover, not only with customer base, but your customer or your employees won't be as happy. A lot of turnover there. So I always kind of say we can talk about accuracy, efficiency, shipping errors, picking errors as much as we want, but when it really comes down to the end of the day, customer satisfaction is really where you're going to see a huge impact. So getting into some of the innovation. We've added about 12 new features also in the past 2 months. But really the big one that we're here to talk about today is called zone picking. And what zone picking is something that we run into in a lot of B2B and B2C as well, warehouses that have pretty high volume. So zone picking is essentially a picking process that involves dividing the warehouse into different zones or regions. You might hear this called region picking, and having specific pickers tied to that zone. So where I see this a lot in my experience is with a picture of flow rack. So we have, we'll say 7, 10, 15, 20 users or warehouse employees standing in their own 8-foot section. And in that 8-foot section, they have 100 bin locations of smaller items, very high moving items. And typically there's going to be a conveyor belt behind them or very close to them, and orders are coming down, whether it's on a tote or in a box. And they need to be able to pick those orders as quickly and efficiently as possible. So what zone picking allows them to do is when they start their day, they open up their handheld and they can say, this is where I'm working. As the orders are coming down, they scan that order and it tells them what to grab out of their area. And if there's nothing in their area, it tells them exactly that. There's nothing here to pick. You can continue on. So we'll get into a demo here in a little bit and talk about that. But this is really going to allow your processes to be enhanced with not only the accuracy, but also the efficiency. So as we talk about what the components are, the zone picking components, it's comprised of two pieces. One is multi-bin, which is Scanco's solution that allows you to track bin locations, also introduces a lot of advanced warehouse capabilities directly inside Sage 100. And then the warehouse floor piece is Scanco Warehouse 100. So that's where we're going to use the mobile computers to automate all of the tasks on the floor, get rid of as much paperwork as possible. So these two are going to work together to provide this zone picking solution. And I'll show you how both of those work. So let's go ahead and jump over there. And here you'll see we have Scanco Warehouse 100 on the left. And then on the right, we have our Sage 100 system. So we're going to spend a little bit of time inside of Sage 100, going through, showing you kind of what we need to do ahead of time to make this work. So first place that we'll go to is into our what we call region maintenance. So this is typically driven off of regions. And you'll see in my company here that I have for what we call quick picking. And this, what's great about this is you can use the terminology your staff is used to, whether you call it quick picking, zone picking, region picking, it will kind of work for any of those terms. So I have these set up. And then once those are set up, I can then go into my bin locations and we'll come in here to our bin location maintenance. look in our 000 warehouse. And you'll see I actually have some quick picking bins set up. So I have QP1 dash 100, QP1 dash 200, basically telling me this is quick picking one, bin 200, bin 300, etc. But the important part here is no matter what these bins are named, as long as they're tied to that region code, whether it's in QP1, 2, 3, however we decide that is going to work out best for your warehouse layout, this will work with that zone picking. So you'll see I have everything here configured appropriately, and I can see which items I have. Since this is set up for more of a high volume, I'm typically only going to have one item in each bin location. If you have more than one item, that's also okay. Now, when you go to actually work on these items, you'll see on the handheld when I go into my picking, I have zone picking. So going back to that whole customization, this is completely customizable as well. So bringing up another window, this is what we call our customer portal. This is the back end where you control how your users operate on the handhelds, what they see, what they don't see. And I just wanted to point out where this will be located. So if you have the new region picking or zone picking enabled, you will see this new area popping up right here. And I can label this whatever I'd like. So you'll see I have zone picking typed in my application label. So that's what displays on the handheld. One thing we've noticed over the years, and you'll start seeing this across a lot of our solutions, everybody calls their process something different. And even though we have something that aligns with it, it's not always easy to switch the terms, especially with employees that might have been on staff for 10, 15, 20. We've even had some that are at like 60 and 80 years at this point, which is absolutely amazing. But switching that doesn't always make sense. So we're starting to open up the software so you can actually name the transactions what makes sense in your world. You'll also notice we have the ability to select allocation type. So going back to these high moving items, you may want to pre-allocate your sales orders. And when I say pre-allocate, essentially what that means is we're going to reserve that inventory. So as soon as the sales order is created, it can automatically or manually go in and say, let's allocate these items from these locations. So they're essentially on hold for that sales order until you need to pick them. Where that's important is, let's say you have a situation, a large vendor that you don't want to pick the item if it doesn't exist for all the items. So it'd be like what we would call like a fill or kill process. You can do that through the multi-bin software in Sage. And then we would tell the handheld, we're only going to pick pre-allocated lines. So there might be other items on that sales order that are not allocated yet. It's not even going to try to get us to pick those. It's only going to show those pre-allocated lines. You can also tell it to only pick unallocated lines. So if you're picking over time, you may want to build orders, a couple items today, a couple items tomorrow, and we don't want it to try to take us somewhere else to get another allocated line. We can select that here, or we can do both. So it's super flexible, and you can work with one of our consultants and sales team as you're evaluating something like this, and they can kind of take you through what each of those pieces will do. So going back to Sage, nothing changes on your sales order entry. You would create a sales order as normal. The sales order that we're going to use today will be sales order 32. I did build this a little bit earlier today, but you'll see we have 4 items. Nothing is allocated on these. So we're going to use that zone picking to go through and have it tell us where to get these items. So now we're going to go over to the handheld. And we'll go into zone picking. So those that already have Scanco Warehouse, this is obviously going to look very familiar to you. Not a lot of changes here. So the first thing it asks is, what staging bin do you use? We typically just have one staging bin at the end of that quick picking location. And then it'll ask, what region am I working in? So for now, we're going to say I'm in QP1. And at this point, we can go through and start working. So if I am attaching a sales order or a label to a box, I could scan that. I can, of course, type it in. We can also do a lookup that'll show all of the orders and sort that by date, by customer, etc. But we're going to go ahead and say here's sales order 32. Now, this is going to take me at this point to our first location, which is QP1-200. So I'm going to look at QP1-200, quantity on hand of 182, and it's telling me which item to scan. So it's saying to scan board 04230. It's telling me that there's two of those order, and I have two to pick, and nothing has already been picked. So apologize. We have apparently our scanner decided to actually die here. So instead of actually scanning, I'm going to type this in. I apologize about that. But we'll type in board 04230. So we're grabbing that item, scanning it, verifying that's the correct item. And at this point, you have two options based on how you have it set up. Mine, I'm allowing the user to type in the quantity. So I'm saying I'm picking a quantity of 2. You can also do what's called a scan each. I call it the grocery store mode. That's where you just scan every item. So I would actually scan one item, grab the next item, scan it, and it would just accumulate to that quantity of 2. Now it's telling me out of location QP1-100, I need to scan this item for a quantity of 1. So we're going to enter our item here. And you'll see if we type it in incorrectly, which I did, or scan the wrong item, it's going to tell us it's wrong. So let's do this the right way now and get the correct item. And we'll verify our quantity of 1. So we've grabbed these two items, and you'll see it's telling me all items in region QP1 have been picked for this order. Please move the box to the next location and start the order. That's basically telling me I'm done with this order. You may not have a physical box to move to the next location. That's no problem. But let's say I'm now working in location QP2. So we're going to move that and pretend we're the next user in the next zone over. We'll go into our sales order 32. And at this point, it's going to let me know I need to go to QP2-100 and scan item board 04500. So it's not going to require us to look or skip through additional items. It's only showing what is in that region that I'm currently working in. And now we can move it down to the next location. So we'll just complete this order, sales order 32. And when we're in quick picking 3, you'll see that there are no items. So this order doesn't contain anything in that region. It's not going to display anything other than a warning to say continue on. And we do have one last item that is in quick picking 4. So it'll prompt us to go to that item, CPU 86. And confirm our quantity of 2. Now this is telling me all items in the region have been picked, and that order goes on down the line. So essentially, what we're doing, we're guiding that user to only pick the items in their area. Now, as I've explained, I'm kind of talking about large or smaller areas. This was also designed for larger areas. We had a customer that used, had a very high value product. They actually did like silver and gold bullion. So they would take their orders and split it up because the same person that had access to one cage was not necessarily allowed to go in another cage. So this would allow them to easily split those orders up. And I would be able to go into that cage, lock it behind me, work on multiple orders and get everything I need before I come out and, security escorts me to the next area to put these on the trucks. So there's a lot of different use cases on how we can divide up the warehouses, on how we're able to work with these items. And then from here, you would continue your normal process. So if we are um, packing that, invoicing it immediately, whether it's going through a Starship or a Freight Pop system, you're going to have the ability to know all of the items are correct. You got them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And from there, you would be able to continue your process. So, taking really processes like this is something that is really important to Scanco. It's something you're going to see a lot more of. That's essentially what we want to cover for today. So I'd say if you have any questions, get with your Sage business partner. You can also just reach out to sales@scanco.com and we can loop them in as well. But get with your Sage business partner, work with your CAMs and service reps over here at Scanco. We would be happy to take you through a personalized demo, answer any other questions you have, and see how we're able to automate that solution for you. So with that said, I definitely appreciate everyone's time. I know it's valuable these days, but it was mentioned before, great to see a lot of familiar faces. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. And as always, feel free to reach out to me directly at Cody@scanco.com. But other than that, I definitely appreciate it and hope you all have a great day. Thank you.